At the race, Yomaski finds his thoughts drifting to his love for romantic comedies about childhood friends, hallucinating about his own day ones, confessing to him like they're following a scripted anime plot. But the second the race starts, reality hits him with a critical blow, reminding him that his life has zero plot armor, which is a problem because to win this race, he actually needs to unlock a real-life romance quest. One morning, Yonosuke wakes up feeling a major debuff from the cold, instinctively calling out for his childhood friend Shio, already knowing she's the one who griefed his sleep by opening the window. But things get spicy when he realizes she's actually cuddled up and grappled onto him. He tries to peel her off, but she's got that gorilla grip, forcing our MC into a total accidental pro wrestling move right on top of her. And while his rom-com brain thinks this is a down bad opportunity, he chooses violence and pinches her lips to wake her up. Shio jolts awake and immediately enters rage mode, accusing him of sneaking into her spawn point, only for Yonosuke to drop a logic bomb that this is actually his room, which makes her pivot to blaming his broken lock. And instead of a normal exit, she decides to speedrun through the window. She finally taps out of the argument and casually mentions she'll meet him at the spawn point. She vaults out the window, claiming shortcuts are the meta, even if it's a total NPC move. She's completely oblivious to the wind physics nerfing her skirt. Onosuke panics and points out she's basically flashing the whole server. Getting ready for school, Leonoski tries to gaslight himself into thinking Shio is just a friend, but his heart rate says otherwise. He can't even cope. That view from earlier was straight up fancifist tier. The second he steps outside, Shio instantly equips the clingy childhood friend buff. He asks for personal space, but she doubles down on the snuggling, claiming it's just standard procedure. Walking to school, Leonoski is feeling that massive disappointment debuff. He's convinced he's permanently friend-zoned, while his internal monologue is stuck in the gutter. He makes a sacred vow to keep his thirsty thoughts locked away in a private server. Meanwhile, Shio is tilting because her childhood friend strats aren't triggering the reaction she wants. She subtly bumps her assets against him, hoping he'll finally check his notifications. Instead, Yonosuke just complains about the walking lag, leaving Shio molting about all the daily grinding she does just to get him to look her way. She tells herself that one day she'll be the only one on his friend list. Suddenly, she gets a big brain idea to force a cinematic. She fakes a trip and drags him down, classic high-speed collision style. Calculated, Yonosuke lands right on top of her just like the script intended. She immediately plays the victim card, accusing him of aimbotting her chest. She remembers seeing this exact trope in his hidden manga stash, so she's sure this is the way to his heart. But Yonosuke's reaction is a total brick, just dry and unbothered. He just stands up and roasts her for having zero agility stats. In reality, he's sweating bullets trying to keep his poker face from crashing. Shio goes for another play, faking a sprained ankle to unlock the Princess Carry questline. But she gets countered when Yonosuke pulls out a full first aid kit, like he's playing a support main. Our MC is always prepared because Shio's reckless playstyle is basically legendary at this point. He flashes back to their childhood when she used to parkour off roofs and take fall damage constantly. Shio blushes hard, realizing he's been keeping an eye on her since the tutorial. Once he confirms her HP is full, he's ready to continue the school grind. Shiro quickly catches up and grabs his hand, triggering an accidental handshake. The physical contact hits both of them with a massive flustered debuff. Shiro scrambles for an excuse and claims she's just making sure he doesn't skip, throwing it back to when she used to carry him to school. To keep the hand-holding active, she fakes the ankle pain again, asking for a human crutch. Yonosuke gives in, and they continue their co-op walk through the neighborhood. Even so, Yonosuke is still stuck in his own head, feeling like he's losing the game. He's convinced this just friends loop is all he's ever going to get. As they hit the main street, he worries the other NPCs are going to start shipping them. He tries to act like a background character, but walking through the crowd feels like a main event. He's low-key shocked Shio is bold enough to let people see them like this. His imagination is going 60 FPS because the vibes are way too rom-com for comfort. Suddenly they hear a sound effect. Akari is standing there, jaw dropped, pointing at their linked hands like she just saw a glitch. They immediately disconnect and start damage controlling the situation. Akari's shock turns into a devious grin. She's about to start a teasing spree. She bends down to pick up her bag, struggling to hide the fact that she's dying of laughter. Luckily, Onosuke is too busy coping with the misunderstanding to see her shaking. Suddenly, Akari flips her personality switch to cold mode. She accuses Onosuke of being a total creep and bothering Shio. She claims it's her job as the superior childhood friend to put him in his place. She tries to leave, but Onosuke panics and grabs her, right in the special hitbox by mistake. Akari goes full berserker mode, strangling him for the accidental grope. Shio jumps in to save him, explaining it was all her idea to hold hands just to drag him to school. Akari realizes she miscalculated and turns away, her face burning like a red light. She calls them both low-level idiots to save face. Both Shio and Onosuke are stuck in that peak awkwardness zone. They both thought for a second they were actually progressing their relationship bars. Yonosuke is envisioning the absolute roast he'd get if the girls knew he actually had a crush on Shio. Once Akari gets clear of the danger zone, she drops the act completely. She looks at a childhood photo and realizes her own best friend Law is being threatened. She's scared that if she doesn't play her cards right, Shio is gonna win the MC's heart. She low-key regrets being such a mean NPC to him. Still, she mutters that she only acts that way because he's a total scrub. Her face heats up as she wonders if he thinks Shio's stats are better than hers. She swears he's going to pay for making her feel this way. She tries to convince herself he's just a background character to her. On the flip side, Shio is doing a victory dance in her head, determined to win the Yonosuke route. Meanwhile, Yonosuke is just trying to hide his dirty thoughts in a vault. At school, Akari instantly flags him as a creep for buying the same drink as her. Classic indirect kiss vibes. Akari and Yonosuke are childhood friends too, but they're basically in a constant PvP match. Shio scolds them but has to dip for her class rep daily quests. The second she leaves, they go right back to trading insults. Yonosuke misses the old days when Akari was actually wholesome and stuck to him like a support main. Now he's wondering if they're even on each other's friends list anymore. Trying to fix his rep, he casually mentions his drink tastes like top-tier loot. Akari hits him with that "I don't care" energy. In her head, she's molting that he hasn't noticed her massive efforts. She's been grinding her looks and grades just to be in his league and share these small moments. She promises she'll be nicer if he'd just look at her for once. They crack open their drinks at the exact same time, and Akari immediately calls him out for copying her like an NPC. Yonosuke realizes he actually grabbed her drink by mistake. He tries to warn her, but she already took a sip. Quest failed successfully. Akari's brain short-circuits as she realizes what just happened. She's completely flustered that they just shared an indirect kiss in the middle of the hall. She recovers and starts roasting him, calling him a total rookie for getting so hype over it. Seeing him blush, she goes for the throat, calling him a total virgin. That was a critical hit. Yonosuke finally snaps back. He demands to know if she's even leveled up her own experience stats. Akari lies through her teeth, claiming she's an expert and only freaked out because kissing him would be like a debuff. Yonosuke fires back, claiming he could kiss anyone with his eyes closed, pro status. People are starting to watch, and Akari turns away to hide the fact she's actually hurt. The thought of him kissing someone else is a massive debuff to her heart. She challenges him to prove his skills right here, right now, a total dare. They end up in the stairwell, both shaking like they're facing a world boss. He notices her shaking, but she immediately roasts his trembling knees to distract him. Finally, Onosuke admits he's actually at level 0. He's never kissed anyone. Akari's aggro instantly drops, and she looks at him with total waifu eyes. She cups his face and leans in for the first kiss cutscene, leaving him stunned. For a second, the vibes are actually S-tier romantic, but then Shio's voice breaks the silence, and the scene is totally ruined. They turn to find Shio looking at them with a totally blank stare. Shio approaches and Onosuke panics, thinking a messy love triangle PvP is about to break out. Instead, Shio just picks a thread out of his hair, acting like it was all a big misunderstanding. Akari agrees while accidentally tripping and showing off her beginner tier bear print undies. Shio instantly covers Yonosuke's eyes. "No fan service for you today." Yonosuke roasts Akari for her childish taste, earning himself a gut punch for his troubles. They start arguing again, confirming Yonosuke's fear that childhood friends are basically cursed. Meanwhile, Shio realizes Akari is a massive threat to her endgame with the MC. Back in class, the background NPCs are hyping up how beautiful Shio and Akari are. They're jealous that Yonosuke is so close and even ask for leaked info on them. Yonosuke insists he only sees them as party members, unaware Shio is right behind him. Shio acts like it's fine and hits him with a sneak attack hug. She refuses to let go, claiming their friendship level is high enough for this. She asks to copy his homework like she's a total leech. He gives in, but then she sits on his lap like it's a gaming chair. He protests the indecency, but Shio just rubs it in literally. He makes a weird sound, and the whole class immediately starts roasting him. Shio defends the chaos, saying this is just how they play. He tells her to hurry up, but she's already confirmed his critical weakness. She's teasing him hard, knowing this is the way to make him see her as the lead girl. Akari tries to break it up, calling the whole scene a total scandal. She tries to peel Shio off, but she's got that MC magnet skill locked. So Akari joins in, sitting on his other leg to balance the stats. The class is staring at this triple-decker setup as Akari makes up some total nonsense about preventing rumors. Akari starts getting twitchy, and Shio takes it as a challenge to increase the pressure. She tries to peel Shio off the MC's lap, but Shio is locked in and refuses to budge. Taking that as a challenge, Akari tells Shio to make room and claims the other leg for herself. The entire class stares at the bizarre scene as Akari explains that she forgot her homework, and that by sitting here, strange rumors won't spread about Shio. Akari starts acting all fidgety, which Shio takes as a literal challenge to her throne. So in response, Shio grinds herself even harder against Yonosuke to assert dominance. Unable to take the heat, Yonosuke enters rage mode, yeeting them both off his lap while accidentally touching their chests in the process. He speedruns his way to the bathroom to escape the awkwardness, leaving Shio more determined than ever to secure the W while Akari just stays stun-locked. Alone in the bathroom, Yonosuke complains about how his childhood friends have zero chill, before rushing onto a crowded bus, where he realizes that catching feelings for these two feels like a forbidden questline. He manages to find a spot to stand, but since the bus is packed, he accidentally bumps into another passenger and immediately preps an apology. For a second, he notices her visuals are top tier, and something about her character model feels familiar, only to realize it's Shio, who greets him with a high-rarity smile that completely catches him off guard. Yonosuke explains he's pathing to the bakery for a limited-time sale, which just happens to be her destination as well. Shio starts talking, completely unaware that Yonosuke is noticing how much she's leveled up in maturity, until the bus suddenly swerves left, throwing her off balance and forcing Yonosuke to catch her. Without a single frame of hesitation, he holds onto her, trying to hide his embarrassment by complaining, but she just presses closer and wraps her arms around him like a grapple. Yonosuke tries to take deep breaths to stop his heart from redlining, but Shio spots the opening and starts teasing him about being motion sick. She leans in close, asking if he's feeling the debuff in a low voice, making him blush hard as she gently rubs his earlobes like she's trying to clear a status effect. She mentions she used to do this for him back in the tutorial days, so Yonosuke pulls her into a tight hug just to hide his face, making Shio stiffen in surprise. He quickly fakes an excuse about feeling sluggish and needing her to carry him to the bakery. Convinced this position is better since he can dodge her gaze, but his pulse is still racing. Still, when he finally looks at her again, he's stunned to see she's the one looking flustered for once, so he quickly leads her off the bus before the tension obliterates them both. Once they're on the sidewalk, Shio is confused because the bakery is still a long trek away, but Yonosuke tells her to stop hiding her true feelings. Shio feels a spark of hope, wondering if the MC finally realized she's down bad for him. So she plays dumb and asks him to explain himself. Instead of a confession, Yonosuke just hits up a vending machine to buy her a soda, leaving Shio looking absolutely puzzled when he hands it over. He explains it's a remedy for her motion sickness, knowing she's prone to the same debuffs as him, and that a soda usually gives her a mood buff when she's feeling down. She accepts it with a gloomy expression. As they both sit on a bench to start their consumable items, Shio appreciates the gesture, even if she thinks this specific timing isn't perfect for a rom-com moment. So she leans against him, vowing to keep grinding for that relationship achievement. When Yonosuke notices the proximity, she casually tells him she just likes the vibe of him, and while he pretends to be unbothered, his hand is literally shaking from the nerves. Later back at school, the trio is playing a word game to pass the time. Akari stops midway, complaining that this is a total noob game they should have outgrown. But Shio whines that the rain is keeping them trapped in the classroom, and she just wants to party up. Akari says the weather might clear after school, but she agrees to keep playing just for Shio's sake. When it's Yonosuke's turn, he accidentally says Shio, which instantly grabs everyone's attention. He frantically tries to cover it up, claiming it's just a word that sounds similar and not a name drop. But Akari is already hit with a jealousy debuff because Shio's name came to him so naturally. They keep the game going, but Akari starts sweating the meta, ending her words with A to bait him into saying her name. After several rounds, he still hasn't bit the hook, which has her feeling super irritated, especially when he finally responds with Aloe, totally crushing her hopes. Shio follows up by using Yonosuke's nickname, which sends both him and Akari into a state of shock. She plays it off as a joke about their accent, but Akari is fuming because these two are practically acting like a locked-in couple. The game resets and Akari tries the bait again, but she still can't get him to say her name, until she's forced to use a word starting with A, and shyly blurts out his nickname too. Yonosuke and Shio are stunned as she tries to pass it off as a repeat of Shio's joke, but since duplicates are a bannable offense in this game, Akari officially takes They prep for her punishment phase, while Shio secretly wishes she had been the one to lose just for the attention. After school, the rain starts falling again as Yonosuke heads for his home base. He passes a shrine and catches Akari mid-gear swap as she's removing her wet stockings. He makes a noise that alerts her, causing her to whiff a balance check and slip, triggering her defense mechanism as she starts yeeting items at him until he retreats. Guilt washes over Yonosuke for leaving her in a storm without a party member, so he suddenly returns with an umbrella buff, offering to escort her home. She tries to maintain her tsundere pride by refusing, but immediately folds when he starts to walk away. She frames it like he begged her to join him, just so she doesn't look like she's getting carried. They leave the shrine together in an awkward silence. Meanwhile, Shio is also walking home, bummed that she didn't get to party up with Yonosuke today. Her meeting got cancelled, leaving her schedule wide open, until she remembers a snack sale and speedruns to the convenience store. Just then, Yonosuke and Akari round the corner right where Shio was just camping. They're acting super clunky around each other, which Yonosuke finds weird since they've been friends since the server launched. He notices she looks way more high-res and mature than he remembers, but Akari just complains about his walking speed and how the umbrella isn't protecting her from the rain. He adjusts it, convinced she actually hates him, but Akari is actually just struggling to manage her own internal love meter. She acts cold to cover up how happy she is that he's actually being a gentleman, and she notices his shoulder is getting soaked, so she tries to initiate a shared umbrella buff. Yonosuke whiffs the social check, thinking she wants him to dry her off, but as she grabs the umbrella to fix his position, she accidentally touches his hand. They both break the contact in a panic. Yonosuke is totally confused by the mixed signals, until she admits she's holding the umbrella high so she doesn't hit his head since he's grown so much. This hits him with a blush debuff because her gentle side is finally showing. Suddenly a car speeds past, and Yonosuke instinctively shields her, dropping the umbrella and getting them both completely soaked. He realizes he's holding her tight and lets go, but instead of entering rage mode, Akari just drops a soft thank you. Yonosuke thinks they might finally be mending their bond, saying he's actually glad they walked home together. But then they both notice the wet shirt visual glitch on Akari. She assumes this was his master plan and slaps him into the shadow realm, making Yonosuke realize a rom-com ending with her is basically impossible. Later that night, Shio is looking at the snack loot spread across her table. Noticing Yonosuke's light is still off, but she spots Akari through the window. Akari is venting to her stuffed animals about her feelings for the MC, completely unaware that Shio just spectated the whole lore dump. Akari finally notices Shio kiting by the window and enters a state of absolute panic, complaining that Shio should have knocked while her embarrassment meter is through the roof. Shio covers the awkwardness by initiating a snack party quest, and they eventually start looting the food. Shio is uneasy because she saw Akari simping for Yonosuke's photo earlier, so Akari tries to bluff, claiming she has zero feelings for the guy. Shio isn't convinced, especially when Akari's expression softens while talking about him. Akari snaps that she hates him before retreating to the childhood friend excuse. Shio admits he's stubborn and maybe things would be different if he was a kind class character, making Akari blush as she imagines a gentler Yonosuke. She tries to hide it by saying a nice Yonosuke would be gross, leaving Shio confused by her constant contradictory dialogue choices. Akari tries to swap the topic with a cute video, but Shio accidentally sees her search history. Akari panic smites her with her phone and rushes to get an ice pack, only for an entire inventory of Yonosuke photo albums to spill out of the cabinet. Akari tries to frame it as photobombing, but it's too late. Shio has confirmed the truth. Even without a confession, the secrets are out, And Shio remembers the childhood pact to never hide lore from your best friend. Shio is totally confused by Akari's contradictory gameplay. She's lagging hard. Akari tries to distract her with a cute video, but Shio accidentally sees her top secret search history. Akari panics and accidentally bonks her with the phone, causing actual damage. She rushes to get an ice pack, but she accidentally triggers a loot drop of secret photo albums. The albums are 100% Yonosuke. She's been collecting his lore for years. Akari tries to claim he's just a frequent background character, but Shio isn't buying that DLC. Even without a confession, the truth is out. Akari's affection meter is through the roof. Shio reminds her of their bestie pact to never hide their true feelings from the squad. Shio demands the truth. What is her actual relationship status with Yonosuke, prompting Akari to admit he's an annoying NPC because he treats them both like background characters. She complains that even as day ones, he should buff his consideration stats and actually treat them like girls, which makes Shio feel the threat level drop as she agrees with the evaluation. She recalls when he gifted her a toy dinosaur, which is basically trash tier loot for a romance quest, leading the two of them to roast his dense behavior until they both burst into laughter. Deep down, they know that even if they're fighting for the same MC, their best friend guild pact is unbreakable. But while they're vibing, they don't realize Yonosuke is camping outside the door, hearing every single roast because he came to return a handkerchief. He tries to ninja vanish, but a sudden scream forces him to rush inside, triggering a scene so embarrassing that Akari enters rage mode, obliterating him for barging into her room. Shio watches the carnage, wondering if Akari's hate meter is actually maxed out. Right before Yonosuke finds himself pinned on top of Shio, questioning how his life became a fan service trope. The next morning, Shio is in Yonosuke's room speedrunning the latest volume of a romance manga, having snuck in while he was in sleep mode just to catch up on the series. She starts leaking tears because the heroine finally locked in a happy ending with her childhood friend, making her crave that same high-tier romantic achievement. She stares at the sleeping Yonosuke, wondering if his heart is on the same quest, but she realizes her puffy eye debuff is too visible and decides to extract from the room. Before yeeting herself out the window, she drops one last smile, swearing to the heavens that she'll make this rom-com real. On his path to school, Yonosuke replays the absolute disaster from the previous day, recalling how he finally looted the latest volume of a comic he's been grinding for. To keep his cultured hobby secret, he went out in a full disguise, but his stealth stat was too low because Shio and Akari spotted him immediately. He tried to hide the loot under his shirt, while the girls crowded his hitbox to investigate. And while his brain was buffering the rom-com familiarity of it all, the comic fell straight to the ground. Shio instantly identified it as the series he keeps stashed under his bed, shocking the duo with her observation haki, though she just casually admits she saw them while chilling in his room. Akari immediately starts kiting him with insults, mocking the fact that he's clearly fantasizing about a childhood friend route. Yonosuke walks to school dreading the social penalty, convinced the mocking will never end, until Shio jump scares him by covering his eyes from behind. He tries to scold her for the public fan service, but Shio has zero shame, continuing her affectionate assault while Yonosuke takes massive embarrassment damage. He tries to ignore her and dashes ahead, but Shio keeps trying to re-engage before class, only for him to excuse himself like an NPC. Even at lunch, his avoidance skill is maxed out, leaving her to take another L. So Shio retreats to her desk feeling totally defeated. Akari notices the cold vibes and offers to listen to the tea, while Shio admits that Yonosuke has been distancing himself from the party. Nervous about the vibes, Akari roasts him to hide her own feelings, calling him a brat for his rom-com obsession. She tells Shio to keep pushing the offensive before walking away with a shaky, nervous laugh. After school, Shio initiates a secret mission by hiding in the gym storage room. She knows Yonosuke is on the cleanup squad and wants to force a trap-together trope straight from her manga. But the plot twists because Yonosuke gets reassigned to the classroom instead. Unaware of the change in the quest objective, Shio stays in hiding for hours until she falls asleep. When she finally reboots, the server is quiet and it's already late, only to find the door is totally locked, trapping her inside the dungeon. She tries to ping for help, but her phone is completely dead. She shouts into the void, but realizes her calling for help skill is useless right now, so she collapses on some foam mats, terrified that she's been permanently abandoned. The loneliness debuff hits hard, especially with Yonosuke acting so cold, But suddenly, the door audio glitches, and it swings open to reveal the MC himself. Yonosuke is panting like he just finished a 100-meter dash, admitting he knew she'd be camping here. He figures she was trying to jump scare him during his shift, but Shio is just overwhelmed with relief that he found her. He tries to hide his concern behind the childhood friend excuse, which triggers Shio's memory of a past event where he saved her from loneliness with a meatball tribute. Back then, he told her to call his name whenever her HP was low, making Shio brighten up and confess she was scared he actually hated her. Yonosuke looks pale, unable to admit he was just dodging her out of pure embarrassment over his comic stash. So Shio gets overhyped and lunges for a hug, sending them both toppling to the floor. He tries to break the grapple, but Shio drops a heavy line, asking if they can stay alone together. While Akari is back at her base, getting nervous because Yonosuke is ghosting her texts, Yonosuke manages to reboot his self-control, choosing to manually block her lips with his hand while scolding her for trolling while the whole guild is worried. He checks his phone to signal the all clear, convinced she was just trying to grief him for a reaction, leaving Shio disappointed that her romantic combo was broken. She fakes a smile and mentions she's hungry for hamburger steak, which hits Yonosuke with more childhood meatball nostalgia, making him go silent. He props himself up on the stage and asks if she's got a hidden debuff bothering her, surprising Shio with how easily he reads her character model. She sits beside him and admits she just wants to increase their shared playtime. The silence is thick enough to nerf their stats until Yonosuke jokes about her being shy for once. Shio's aura turns sad as she reminds him he was the one who told her to stop being touchy, making him feel the guilt debuff. He tells her she can drop the act when they're in a private lobby, so she immediately grabs his hand and leans in, noting he smells like a fresh shower. Yonosuke's heart is redlining as she confesses how strong her feelings are, and just as he thinks he's finally unlocked the rom-com route, the lights suddenly switch on. Akari is standing at the door looking like she just finished a boss raid, making them panic break the hold before she charges in and hugs Shio while crying. She then targets Yonosuke with a rage attack for not updating the group chat, ignoring the fact that he actually sent the message 20 minutes ago. Shio covers for their moment by claiming she just needed a second to recover from the trapped status effect, while Yonosuke realizes she's gatekeeping the truth about their close encounter. Once Shio leaves to reset her stats, Akari interrogates Yonosuke about his feelings. He admits he likes her, but tags it with the family friend zone label to avoid aggro, which doesn't satisfy Akari's suspicion as she demands the real truth. The three of them finally extract home, but Yonosuke fails the sleep check that night, replaying Shio's words that sounded way too much like a confession. Morning comes and he spots Shio leaving her base, realizing his attempt to bury his feelings was a total skill issue. He compliments her new uniform to hide his nerves, but Shio suddenly blushes and sprints ahead. Yonosuke is confused but finds her cute, wondering if he's about to lock in the dating achievement. Akari sees his message from 20 minutes ago and starts molting again because he was so slow bringing Shio home. Shio covers for him, saying she just needed a second to reset after being trapped in that storage room dungeon. Yonosuke is relieved she didn't leak their special moment together. Shio ducks out to the restroom, leaving the two besties alone. Yonosuke tells himself she was just lonely, definitely no romance route starting here, right? Akari is still sus, demanding to know if he's actually into Shio. He admits he likes her but uses the she's like family defense, classic friendzone trope. Akari isn't satisfied and demands his actual stats. He swears they're just day one childhood friends and nothing more. Shio returns and the three of them finally head back to their spawn points. Later that night, Yonosuke is stuck in an infinite loop thinking about Shio's confession tier dialogue. Yonosuke hits them with a fake laugh, saying he knew it all along, before he runs off in real time as his heart takes critical damage. Shio is filled with instant regret for griefing her own chance, while Akari feels a surge of relief that she quickly tries to delete. Yonosuke camps the roof all period. He's totally confused, but her blush is a total S-tier view. He wonders if their official dating arc is about to drop. Since they already hold hands like pros, his mind starts dreaming of the intimate endgame content. Would you like me to do the next batch? He's so hyped he starts running in place, looking like he just unlocked a legendary power-up. But Akari shuts it down real quick, calling him straight up gross. He freezes up after she accuses him of looking at her like some 2D waifu. Our boy tries to explain the misunderstanding, but Akari isn't having any of it. She almost clocks him with her bag before storming off like a main boss. Yomasuke is stunned, but then it hits him. She's totally pulling the Tsundia card to hide her feelings. That realization has his eyes glowing like a rare item drop. Now he's convinced he's living the ultimate rom-com dream with both of his childhood friends. Meanwhile, in the girls' room, Shio is stressing that the MC might have already read her moves. She's overthinking everything, worried that their whole dynamic is about to get a major update. Akari spots her blushing and tries to confirm if anything spicy went down with Yomasuke last night. Little do they know, Yomasuke is right nearby in the men's room, eavesdropping on the whole thing. He thinks a PvP match is about to break out, so he rushes over to play peacemaker. But just as he arrives, he hears Shio drop a massive "I'm not dating him." She shows off a manga panel on her phone, claiming she was just trolling him the whole time. Suddenly, the MC starts laughing from the entrance, catching them both off guard. He puts on a brave face and tells them he knew it was a prank the whole time. He turns to leave while Shio desperately tries to fix the damage she just caused. But he can't hold it back anymore and sprints away as his heart gets absolutely shattered. Shio is hit with instant regret for throwing away her shot like a total noob. Akari feels a weird sense of relief before immediately feeling guilty for being a bad friend. Yomasuke spends the whole first period hiding out on the rooftop, trying to process the L. Later that night, Akari is chilling in the bath, but the MC is still living rent-free in her head. She tries to shake it off, wondering if he even remembers the promise they made. Out of nowhere, Yomasuke walks in on her, and she gives him the boot immediately. Turns out both their houses have broken plumbing, so the families are teaming up for a shared bath party. While the NPCs are busy mingling, Akari pulls a stealth move and hides on the balcony to clear her head. Yonosuke follows to offer an apology, but she hits him with a reject prompt and tells him to yeet himself out of there. This rejection totally nerfs his mood, especially since Akari used to beg him to stay in her party when they were low-level kids. Suddenly, she grapples his shirt and asks if his memory logs still have their childhood promise archived. He confirms he does and leans in for what looks like a romance cinematic. But instead of a kiss, he whispers that he promised never to let her solo the walk to the bathroom at night. He starts laughing about how she was too scared to face the darkness alone, which only serves to tilt Akari even harder. She was hoping for the ride or die promise he made when her cat was sent to the Shadow Realm. But just as she's fuming, Yonosuke repeats those exact words with a soft tone, making her heart rate skyrocket. The tension is maxed out until Akari drops the ultimate dialogue bomb, asking when he's going to make her his wife. He's completely stun-locked as she wraps her arms around him, clearly suffering from a tipsy debuff, which her mom explains happened just by breathing in the party atmosphere. She mocks his beat-red face before slapping his back and walking off, satisfied that she still has enough riz to mess with his internal cooling system. The next day, Yonosuke is chilling at the park when he overhears two mini NPCs promising to marry, making him choke on his drink like he's in a scripted comedy. He realizes his life is turning into a generic childhood friend rom-com, and the mental load of choosing between Shio and Akari becomes so heavy that he literally screams in frustration, scaring away the nearby casuals while a girl named Runner steps in to spectate his meltdown. He tries to fast travel away from the weird vibes, but Runner has a follow quest active and stays glued to his side. He circles the park trying to shake the aggro, but she eventually corners him and starts patting his face, which is when her eyes light up and she screams his nickname, revealing she's actually his long-lost childhood friend. She spins him around in excitement until she hits a dizzy status effect, leading them back to Yonosuke's base, where his mom drops the massive lore update that Runner is actually going to be living with them until spring. Harry recalls her as the cute little sister character from 5 years ago, and even though he's told to help her prep her room, she immediately hits him with a blush-inducing line about being excited to live with her favorite person. He tries to tell himself she only sees him as a brother to avoid the down bad penalty, but when she whiffs a strength check and almost gets crushed by a heavy box, he dashes in for a heroic save. Once the room is set, Runner shyly admits she likes him, but Yonosuke's dense protagonist, Armor, deflects it as a platonic compliment, right before Shio and Akari burst in to investigate the new player in the lobby. They're shocked at how much Runner has leveled up in the maturity department, and while Yonosuke is in the bath trying to scrub away his impure thoughts, the girls are having a secret meeting, where Runner stops holding back and admits she wants the Yonosuke romance route for real. The OGs freeze in absolute shock, and as Runner heads for her own shower reset, Shio and Akari realize they've got a high-level rival on their hands who is ready to speedrun the MC's heart. Runner tries to visit Yonosuke solo after her bath, but the two veterans force their way into the room too, creating a 4-person dungeon party that Yonosuke definitely didn't sign up for. He complains about the crowded base, but Runner manages to sneak onto his lap anyway, asking him to dry her hair while Shio and Akari go into full panic mode. They literally drag her away to do the job themselves, acting as human shields to block every single one of Runner's romantic advances. Yonosuke thinks he's safe until Runner starts playing footsie under the table, making him grapple her leg to stop the madness, which naturally gets him scolded by Akari, while Shio takes notes on Runner's bold strategy. The chaos intensifies when Runner asks for a study buff and positions herself between Yonosuke's legs, dropping a confident "I love you" before accidentally falling asleep and toppling him over. The OGs are relieved the kiss quest was dodged, but they know they can't camp his room forever. The next morning, Runner wakes him up with a nose pinch, serving a legendary breakfast that almost makes him fall for the wife material trap. He nearly spills his miso soup when she asks him on a date to visit their old childhood spawn points, and as they hit the riverbank, Yonosuke notices some random mobs checking Runner out. Realizing her attractive stat is actually high tier even if she acts like a total kid. She tries to riz him into the water, and when he scolds her for being too clingy, he gives her a head pat and calls her sweet, which is basically an op move. She's about to confess again, but Shio and Akari suddenly spawn in to check on Runner. They rush over to give her a hug, and Runner recognizes her old childhood squad. She's shocked at their glow-up, commenting on how much they've matured since they last played together. Later, the MC is in the bath, still low-key reeling from Runner's confession. He tries to convince himself it was just little sister energy, but he's secretly hoping for more. He has to scold himself for even thinking about Runner in that way. Meanwhile, the girls are having a debrief in Runner's new room. Runner admits that she's really caught feelings for the MC. The other two think she's talking about platonic vibes since they were close as kids, but Runner goes full offensive, admitting she's looking for a romantic route. Shio and Akari are left completely stunned, their brains officially lagging. The MC calls out that the bath is free, breaking the awkward tension. She heads off to the shower, leaving a trail of pure chaos in her wake. While she's scrubbing up, the reality finally sinks in for the other two. Runner is a serious rival. Runner finishes her bath and heads back upstairs with a mission. Instead of going to her room, she decides to raid the MC's base. She asks to come in, but before he can even process the request, Shio and Akari teleport in and drag her inside, turning the room into a 4-player lobby. Yomasuke complains about the crowd, but the girls insist they need a full squad reunion for Runner. Runner is totally oblivious to the block and just goes along with the plan. The other two are sweating, glad they intercepted her before she could make a solo play. They didn't expect her to be this aggressive, and now they're on maximum alert. But they're so busy stressing that they miss Runner climbing right onto the MC's lap. She asks if he can help dry her hair, claiming she wants to be pampered after all this time. When Onosuke agrees, Shio and I carry Panet and immediately drag Runner away from him, hastily coming up with excuses about how Onosuke might ruin her hair. In the end, they take over hair duty themselves to keep her away from the MC. Every time she tries to talk to him, they distract her with endless stories and chatter. The MC is finally breathing a sigh of relief, thinking he's safe for now. But that peace is ruined when he feels Runner's feet brushing his under the table. His heart starts racing as he panics and grabs her foot to stop the secret attack. Runner giggles that he's tickling her, making the other two look under the table like investigators. Akari lays into him while Shio is low-key impressed by Runner's high-level tactic. Akari imagines doing the same but snaps out of it. Tonight is all about stopping Runner's advances. Runner keeps the pressure on, asking the MC to help her with her studies. She slides right next to him so he can teach her one-on-one. Akari and Shio immediately scramble over, claiming they're expert tutors too. The MC is getting overwhelmed as all three childhood friends crowd his personal space. Runner then decides to sit right between his legs so the others can help from the sides. She looks him in the eyes and drops a casual "I love you" bomb. Our boy has no idea how to react and just gives a super awkward thanks. Everyone freezes when Runner leans in, eventually causing them both to tumble to the floor. But when he looks at her, he realizes she's just passed out from exhaustion. The others are relieved she didn't seal the deal, but they know she's already laid her cards on the table. He tries to help her up to get her back to her room, asking the girls for backup. As Runner sleeps, the other two girls look at her with that big sister affection. She's still their little sister, but she's definitely the most dangerous rival in the room. They're stressing because they know they can't keep this 24/7 guard up forever. Meanwhile, Yomasuke is back in his room trying to delete all those spicy thoughts from his brain. While he's struggling, Runner is having the best sleep of her life dreaming about him. The next morning, Runner tries to wake the MC, but he's still in power save mode. She pinches his nose, which finally forces him to boot up. He turns beet red when he sees exactly how close she is to his face. They start the day together, and he's blown away by the top-tier breakfast she whipped up. One bite in, and he's giving her 5 stars, making her beam with pride. She asks if she'd make a good wife, and our boy is already sold on the idea. With her acting this sweet, it's hard for him not to think he's the lead in a top-tier rom-com. But then she starts acting like a total kid again, nearly trashing the miso soup and breaking the spell. He goes back to his routine, telling himself he was just hallucinating the romantic vibes. He convinces himself it's just childhood friend energy and nothing more. He's basically ready to punch himself for even considering her as a romantic partner. Suddenly, Runner wraps her arms around him and asks him to go on a date with her. She wants to visit all their old spawn points and catch some serious nostalgia. He tries to keep that brotherly mindset as they head to the river where they used to grind levels as kids. Runner charges right in while the MC warns her not to pull a classic anime fall. Seeing her play around makes him relax, thinking she really is just a kid after all. But then some random NPCs notice how attractive she is, making them realize she's grown up. The MC admits that even if she acts like a kid, her character design is definitely high tier. She tries to get him to play in the water, and he eventually folds when she takes his hand and coaxes him in. Temporarily mesmerized, he snaps out of it and tries to lecture her about being way too clingy. Runner hit him with the "I'm only like this with you" line, leaving him totally speechless. He's about to argue, but they're interrupted by a crying kid nearby. So Runner switches to support mode and easily calms the boy down, which seriously impresses our MC. They eventually reunite the tiny NPC with his mother, and the kid leaves with his happiness bar fully restored. Yonosuke calls her skills impressive, leading Runner to admit she wants to be a player who helps others stand because back in the tutorial days, everyone helped her. Looking straight at Yonosuke, she reveals she's grinding her stats to become a high-tier doctor, sharing that she's already mastered the basics of treating simple wounds through intense study sessions. This hits Yonosuke with a massive wave of embarrassment as he admits he always viewed her as a low-level kid. But in reality, she's already figured out her endgame life plan, making her more of a mature adult than he is. Runner hits him with a quick correction, saying she's still just a kid who's hyped to level up into adulthood, forcing Yonosuke to re-evaluate her character model as he realizes his perception was completely nerfed. He briefly wonders if that late-night confession was actually a romantic flag, but before he can ask for clarification, Akari and Shio sprint into the zone to greet Runner. The duo yeets themselves into the lake and starts a water-splashing PvP match with Runner and Yonosuke to bait them into playing. Yonosuke thinks the whole thing is annoying, but Runner is easily rizzed into joining the fun. All 3 girls begin playing in the water biome, while Yonosuke spectates from the sidelines. He's taking massive embarrassment damage, since he was literally 1 frame away from asking Runner about her confession, when suddenly she appears right in front of him, making him expect a romantic cutscene. Instead, Runner just flexes 2 crawfish she looted and starts kiting toward him. She whiffs a movement check and trips on the way, worrying the girls and making Yonosuke realize his rom-com dreams are still a total glitch. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on new high-tier episodes.